What's poppin', guys? Welcome back to Sam Talk Sports. Let's talk about the Boston Celtics halfway through the NBA season. Man, to be honest, this team confuses me so much. They're currently 10th seed in the East at 23 wins and 22 losses with a plus 1.9 point differential. This team should be much higher. I felt like they should be competing for at least a top 4 seed, but yet they're here right on the cusp of not even making the play-in rounds. So I am really confused as to why this is happening for the Celtics, because if you look at their seasons, they've kind of been regressing. Yet the core big three, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and Marcus Smart, they've been here all 5 seasons. I think they're most 3 important players, but for some reason they've been declining each and every single season. And this season is kind of on par with last season when they finished at 500. But besides, I'm going to talk about those points a little bit further. But I'm just going to make a prediction. I think the Celtics will be fine in the sense that they'll make the playoffs this season. I think they will have a mini second half surge, but they are not a contender for the NBA Finals for this season, in my opinion. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out why that's the case, In the NBA mailbag, it's asking, should Celtic stars Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum be split up? I think this is a question to answer this offseason depending on how the season goes along. But if you look at the team stats, the Celtics really has been a middle of the road team. 19th in points per game, 9th in rebounds, and 24th in assists. And I kind of want to break down the 5 seasons of the Celtics from the 2017 season onwards, and look at how the roster is built, who they had on the roster, the players, and could we really notice any patterns that kind of explains the Celtics regressing, or is this kind of still a mystery? So in 2017, 2018, that season, the Celtics were 1 win away from advancing to the NBA Finals, and we knew what happened. LeBron, he brought the Cavs down from 3-1 to the Finals. And so, in that season, in terms of minutes played, which I'm going to go off on as the most important thing, you can see Smart, Tatum, Brown, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in terms of minutes played, and they got Irving and Al Horford. And if you look at the center position, Greg Monroe, Aaron Baines occupy those positions, and I would kind of say that Terry Rozier was the point guard on that team. Moving on, in the upcoming season, the 2018-2019 season, when they lost in the second round, once again, in terms of minutes played, Marcus Smart was top 5, Jayson Tatum was 2nd, and Jaylen Brown dropped down to 7th. But these 3 key players were still on the roster, and they had Al Horford, Kyrie Irving as well, and in terms of the center position, it was Baines and Theis. They also had Gordon Hayward at the string forward position. So is Gordon Hayward's, departure from the team since last season a big reason why the Celtics regressed? Or could it be Kyrie Irving departure from the team leading to the Celtics regressing, even at that time I felt like the Celtics were like, we don't really need Irving, too much drama, they didn't fit. And then if you look at the 2019-2020 season, where in the bubble the Celtics lost in the conference finals, so it felt like the Celtics were definitely an NBA Finals contender, even though they lost that season in the conference finals. They replaced Irving with Walker. Kemba Walker had a solid season. 3 of the top 4 players in terms of minutes played obviously were Tatum, Brown, Smart, which is part of the big 3, and obviously Gordon Hayward, he returned in the bubble even after like a year with some injuries, and Wanamaker was the backup point guard, and Theis was their starting center. So they still had a solid season, but then moving on to the 2020-2021 season, where the Celtics showed like stunning decline in my opinion, because I feel like players like Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum especially, it feels like they're getting better and better each and every single season, stats-wise, experience-wise. So supposedly, coupled with Marcus Smart as your big three, this team should be improving, especially with so much playoff experience. Yet in 2020 they lost to the Nets in the first round, and the Nets are a great team, so it's not surprising that they lost to the Nets. But why were they the 7th seed that season, you know? With that team, with that roster, which is shown right here, which is nearly the same roster as the previous season, besides Gordon Hayward's departure, like I mentioned. Kemba Walker was there. They, traded for Evan Fournier, who was solid. The top 3 players in terms of minutes played and contributions really were their big 3, Tatum, Brown, Smart. Dice was there. Thompson was there. But, we saw Robert Williams emerge. And in terms of all of the centers of the Celtics from 2017 to 2021, these past 5 seasons, I would say maybe in the early season, 2017-2018, Al Horford, yeah, he's a better center than Williams. But right now, I would say Williams is a better center than Horford. He has more talent, he's younger, he's more athletic, and we could see here that Jeff Teague was the backup point guard for the team, and then it was also Peyton Pritchard, and some other players like Grant Williams or Semi Ojeleye played some games, but really the core 3 pieces of the Celtics stayed the same. So Irving became Walker, Horford became Dice/Williams, and throughout the season, the Celtics realized, we want Williams to be our center of the future, which I agree with. I think he is a real solid center. Their backup point guard, Peyton Pritchard, Jeff Teague, I think maybe that was an issue where Kyrie Irving actually helped this team a lot more than they anticipated, and maybe even a Gordon Hayward helped this team a lot more than anticipated, because the replacements, did not lead the team to more wins, even though their big 3 stayed the same. And it's a similar situation right here this season. Their top 3 in minutes played is Tatum, Brown, and Smart. And from Irving to Walker, now they signed Schroeder, which was a great deal for $6 million a year. Schroeder is their backup point guard, but also has started many games for them. And then Robert Williams has, started all of the games as their main starting center. And Al Horford returned, which should help this team, given that in 2017-2018 seasons, Al Horford, 2018-2019, Al Horford, and if you look at the records, great records for the Celtics. So Al Horford is still contributing solidly to this team. And now they have Josh Richardson and Grant Williams, Romeo Langford, Peyton Pritchard kind of maintain status quo. So really, if you look at the roster, besides, also I'll give a shout out to Ennis Freedom as the backup center position, but the big 3 has stayed the same throughout these 5 years. The only 2 significant additions that are now gone in the past 5 years for the Celtics is Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. And could you really say that because there's no Kyrie Irving, because there's no Gordon Hayward, the Celtics regressed due to these 2 cases? I don't think you can put all the blame on that. I think the big 3, with all of this playoff experience, all of these games playing together as a trio, now that you add Robert Williams as a starting center, these 4 players have been around for many seasons, and if they are the core of the Celtics, they really should be a top 4 seed in the East, and they really should be contending for the, to make it out of the East each and every single year. Yet, they're just not clicking, and I'm having a hard time grasping how to fix the Celtics, because it feels like this team on paper should work. They should be comfortable in the East right now in terms of standings, yet they aren't. The big 3 are playing well. You look at their stats, they're doing well. But could it be an issue where the pieces simply don't mesh together? And going back to the article, should Celtic stars Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum be split up? I say if at the end of this season the Celtics suffer another disappointing early playoff exit, it's time to make that consideration, because I think each player can yield a really solid package, you know? And this is just a little bit of a wild thought. But if Ben Simmons is still not traded this offseason, the Celtics have a disappointing season, the 76ers have a disappointing season, maybe a Simmons for Brown trade could happen. And could that help both teams? I don't know. And Brad Stevens, he's been solid as the coach, and now he's the president. He is the, let me see, just want to get this correct, president of basketball operations for Celtics, Udoka. I think he's a solid coach. And if you look at the roster payroll figures for the Celtics, then Schroeder, he's going to demand more money in the future. So the Celtics are quite tight on their budget. They can't really change anything in terms of free agents. They can't really sign any stars. It's going to really come down to the trading market. Are they going to trade one of the big three? If they don't do well this season, I say that's a go. That's pretty much it for this breakdown. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And don't forget to live a spicy life. Peace.